Howdy! So, you're a new or returning player to World of Warcraft? Good. You're probably wondering then, what class you're gonna play? Well, slow your roll there for a minute, buckaroo. Aren't you forgetting something? Sure, if you want to find out what class you should play, there are certainly useful guides out there. I could point you to a few in fact. But before you get to that, you need to know what race you're gonna play as. Wouldn't want to make any unforgivable mistakes now, would we? Unfortunately, I, Vulgrin, am on hand to help you out in your hour of need, with a series of videos explaining everything, not really, that you need to know about the lore and origins of the playable races in World of Warcraft. And where better a place to begin than with one of the most central races of them all, the founders of the Horde, the Orcs. Oh my, this is gonna be fun. Let's just get started. Now, I said the Orcs were one of the central races in the Warcraft universe. This is no exaggeration. They're actually one of two races, alongside humans, boring, which formed the basis of the original RTS Warcraft game. The game's subtitle was literally Orcs and Humans, if that didn't give it away. And that game came out all the way back in 1994. Ages ago, back when your malnourished uncle still had hair and I was still gestating in my alien egg sac. How to summarise the Orcs then? Well, imagine that your character is the Hulk, but your favourite hobbies are aggressively pursuing blue women, which to be honest is fair enough, and intermittent phases of psychotic planetary conquest and unmitigated genocide, which is arguably a little more questionable. But that's just what the haters will tell you. All the real players out there know full well that Orcs are noble, honourable warriors who always fight fair and have never ever crossed the line, right? But where do these giant green absolute units come from, Vulgrin, you ask? Well, my friends, let me elucidate you. A long time ago, on a planet later sponsored by Monster Energy, the Orcish people made their home, spending their days getting absolutely jacked in the gym and literally worshipping rocks, and generally having a good time of it, living in tribal groups called clans, fairly isolated from each other. Life was pretty swell, until an outcast orc named Weirdbeard, chieftain of the Bony Bat Columbine fan clan, decided it would be a good idea to fuck everyone's shit right up. Why would he want to be such a nasty boy, you ask? Well, like I said, Weirdbeard, or Gul'dan if you want to be a nerd about it, was an outcast. The reason for this comes back to the nature of Orc society. Orcs, especially in these early days of the clans, were all about individual physical strength and might. Draenor, the alternative name for Planet Monster, was a harsh, wild, unforgiving place that required every individual member of a tribe to be prepared at all times to split some serious wigs, and the Orcs were by no means the fiercest, most numerous, or most powerful of the creatures roaming the wilds. Draenor was also home to a diverse range of equally deadly species, such as the Empire of the Giant Angry Bald Fuckers, Petey Piranha from Super Mario Sunshine and his mates, and Colonel Sanders' worst nightmare. Suffice to say, with these threats assailing every Orc clan constantly, if you didn't look like Dorian Yates in his prime by the age of 10, you were essentially considered a waste of resources. And this was the case for Weirdbeard, because unlike his swole brethren, Gul'dan wasn't jacked at all. In fact, he actually resembled the Grinch if he'd been dropped headfirst into reactor number 4. Additionally, he had this bizarre hunched stance, like someone forced him to eat a kilo of Doritos and wash it down with 4 litres of Diet Pepsi, then forbade him from using the shitter for 6 weeks. Anyway, Weirdbeard was exiled for being a general waste of space and forced to wander the lands, and he'd have probably died at this point if it wasn't for the untimely intervention of the Burning Legion, ostensibly a galaxy-spanning military force of angry demons led by Satan, literally hell-bent on conquering the cosmos. What you haven't been told, however, is that the Burning Legion is actually the largest seller of illegal steroids in the universe, and they saw an opportunity to make Gul'dan their local street dealer on Draenor. Seduced by the promise of getting more muscles than a Cornish beach, and the hope that the product offered by the Legion might also enhance his micropenis, Beardy Boy got on board with the plan and consumed the juice, which, by the way, I should probably explain, was the literal blood of a powerful demon. He then returned to Orcish society, and after zapping a couple of guards who weren't happy that he'd come out of exile without an invitation, started to find Orcs who would listen to him. Now you might be thinking that any being with half a brain would know that this was a bad idea. After all, the fell roids had literally turned Gul'dan green, and he had spikes coming out of his arse like a fucking hedgehog. But nevertheless, He was jacked now, and whilst orcs were apparently a race of gullible imbeciles, they were extremely knowledgeable about making mad gains in the Iron Church. So if Gul'dan had gotten incredibly strong and muscular from this substance, then they could only imagine how effective it would be for them. So G. Dizzle managed to get a bunch of the world's most renowned and badass fighters to get on the Lance Armstrong diet. These bros included Stone Age Conrad Kurz, Kellogg's Deadeye, the Super Sourfang Bros, and of course Grommash Hellscream, a character so badass I'm not even gonna make a joke, as he'll likely use his sheer fucking willpower to come out of the fictional universe he's in into the material realm and rip my head off. Anyway, over a short space of time, the majority of orcs on Draenor consumed the blood and got absolutely massive. However, there was a catch. You see, much like in real life, when these guys started quaffing the super space roids, they started to get extremely aggressive, to the point that they'd try to tombstone pile drive an ogre if they got the chance. And you see, this was the Burning Legion's plan all along. Many years before these events on Draenor, the Burning Legion had been flying around making life a living hell, get it, for everyone. But their leader, Space Satan, felt like his management team needed some work. It didn't take him long to locate a planet which was home to a race of goat squid men who, alongside looking particularly ridiculous, were also huge-brained. Deep Space Diablo wanted these guys on his team, and he succeeded in getting them on board, all except for a small number of exiles who were warned about the plot to ensnare them into this demonic army and escaped on a spaceship. Now don't worry, we'll cover these guys in their own racial lore video. But to summarise, these exiles, known as the Draenei if you want to be a nerd about it, were about as good at piloting rockets as North Korea. So they ended up crash landing on Draenor and living alongside the orcs for many years, never really interacting with them save for the occasional trade or chance meeting. Still, even though both races kept to themselves, their relationship was pretty peaceful. Up until the Green Goblin and his new army of supercharged bodybuilders started craving blood and conquest. You see, under the cover of being a simple steroid ring, the Legion had ensured that the Orcs had consumed the blood of a demon, and that meant that they were now effectively slaves to the will of the Burning Legion itself. Space Satan and his boys had not forgiven the Draenei for refusing their offer all those years ago, and they wanted revenge. The Orcs were about to become their weapon of choice. Usurping the power of the shaman spiritual leaders of the Orc clans, Gul'dan and his warlocks, those orcs in his inner circle with similar demonic sorcerous powers, told the orcs that the Draenei had called them nasty names, saying their gains were fake, and that they now all looked like roided Brussels sprouts. Enraged by this, the orcs began to unify into one cohesive mass of flexing, deadlifting fury known as the Horde, and set about exterminating all Draenei on the planet. Now I think it's important to stress that the Draenei, despite all the jokes I'm going to make in their lore video, were pretty good at defending themselves all things considered. They were incredibly skilled, a race of essentially immortal scholars and craftsmen who were even of a similar size and build to the orcs themselves. More importantly, their technology was on Protoss levels, whilst the Zug-Zug Foundation had remained in a technologically primitive hunter-gatherer state for millennia. If it wasn't for Gul'dan casting Wololo on the orcs and turning them into demon blood addicts, they might not have pulled off their genocide in the first place. But in the end, the sheer numbers and unprecedented fury of the Horde was simply too much for the Blue Crew, and the vast majority of them got full Swobu treatment, i.e. smashed more times than Mick Foley when the Scorpion King reached for a steel chair. All the Draenei were either dead, fled, or in bed in the hospital at this point. And the orcs of the Nation of Domination, yes, the wrestling references don't stop, were now the unquestioned rulers of Draenor. Thing is, the demonic power the warlocks were wielding and the destructive habits of the fell-powered orc warriors had corrupted more than just their own square sausage-looking bodies. They'd fucked up the whole planet. Kinda hilarious when you think about it. Unifying your race for the first time in its history and waging a costly war of genocidal conquest, only to find out that you've doomed your world to a slow death of corruption and decay, so being its masters is completely redundant? Lol, fuck you, Gul'Daniel! Worse still, the Burning Legion had moved on to ply their vitamin S on other worlds, so the orcs were left on a dying planet, addicted to war but having no one left to fight but each other, and no clear path other than that sent by a giant interstellar war machine which had lost interest in them. Well, that's what I call a sticky situation. But of course, the story doesn't end here, but this video does. I wanted to try and cover everything in one episode, but there's just too much lore here, and I need to drink another litre of Pacific Punch before I can do more of the internet funny man thing. So, if you want to know how Raz Al Ghuldan, Grom Bon Jovi, Nerd Zool, and the boys managed to save their green arses on Draenor as it was falling apart, and how the Horde ended up on Azeroth, you'll have to wait for the next episode, which should come out very soon. Now, if you enjoyed this super serious lore video and got a lot of credible info out of it, consider subscribing to the channel. I also have a Patreon for those of you out there who want to follow Gul'dan's example and pledge your soul to an infernal overlord. You can check that out. Oh, and I also have a Twitter now, which is where I'll post updates about upcoming projects and videos, but to be honest with you, I pretty much let my girlfriend run that, as I'm practically a boomer at this point and I have no idea how the fuck to work it. Okay, that's about all. I'll see you dudes later. Ta-ta for now, and of course, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.